A lot of you have seen my videos I've done on Super Nintendo, NES. One of my favorite games for those particular systems are Game Boy. Now this is a composite. This is what, if I was to take all games from all generations and say, hey, what are your favorite ones of all time? It's a very hard thing to do. It's a very hard list to quantify. Obviously, this is my personal list. This isn't an official list, as if an official, I like when people will say that, like as if an official list could ever exist. It's so dumb when actually somebody says, hey, this is the top 10 best NES games of all time. That's very subjective and ridiculous. This is not one of those lists. These are my personal favorites. Games, all generations of all time. Let's do it. So before we get to the video, however, I want to thank our sponsor here today, Dollar Shave Club. Now, I used to have a full-on just giant bushy beard, but these days I'm grooming up a lot more, and who helps me do that? Dollar Shave Club. But Dollar Shave Club is not just about shaving. They can cover you in various other ways as well. They have shower stuff, they have oral hygiene stuff, they have deodorant stuff, and they have, yes, of course, butt wipe stuff, thank God. Right here I have the hydrating starter set. Products include exclusive handle plus a set of 4 cartridges, a 1-ounce bottle of Dr. Carver's shave butter, a 1-ounce bottle of 2-in-1 mint and cedar face body wash, and 1-ounce bottle of 2-in-1 sage and black pepper shampoo and conditioner. Now, my personal favorite thing in here are the razors. I love them. They last a lot longer and they give me a better shave, especially with the shave butter. And best of all, you don't even have to go to the store for any of this. They ship the stuff right to you, and you buy more, you save more. Now, you can get your first starter kit for only $5. Just go to the link below, the Dollar Shave Club link, click it, and you're all set. Now, the games on this list, I have them on this list because I think they're deserving. They're great, perfect, excellent, amazing games. I can't give them enough praise. And nostalgia does play a little bit of a part in it, but not as much as this game. This game probably has the most nostalgia value of why I'm putting it on this list, but it's still great. And that's Burger Time. The port that I have the most experience and the most love for is the Intellivision version. My grandmother and I would play this constantly when I was very small. It was one of my very first video game memories, in fact, outside of a few other Intellivision games. And so when I think about this game, I am immediately drawn back to that time with my grandmother. And she was really good at the game. She would beat it, and well, beat it by just finishing the loop and starting over. But now there's a lot of memories tied into that game, but it's not all just that. It's a really, really fun game as well. Hence why it's being ported and remade and all that other stuff. It's just a really good game. You're basically building burgers and avoiding all the nasty stuff like eggs, and eggs are nasty. And sausages are nasty too. Think about it, I don't eat either of those things. I wonder if that's why. I wonder if it's because they were enemies in Burger Time and it really influenced me at a younger age. But I swear, I never touch a sausage and I never touch an egg. Pickles though, I eat pickles and the pickles were his enemy, so maybe not. Anyway, Burger Time is burgerlicious. God, please don't. Now, I admit I completely got caught up in the whole Call of Duty thing for a brief period of my life in the PS3 area, the multiplayer game. Now, I love the games on PS2, the single player modes. I love those, but the multiplayer, yeah, that was a thing in the PS3 for me. However, one game franchise that I liked even more than that was Battlefield, and Battlefield Bad Company and Battlefield Bad Company 2. I think I spent the most time on, so many hours put into those games. I was addicted to it, completely addicted to it. Just doing the various classes. One thing that drive me crazy is the snipers. I would hate being a sniper. But I was always loving being the assault, just going in there, guns blazing, and I just had a blast with it. I had a blast with the fact that you could use all these vehicles. The maps were just huge. There were times where you were just trying to strategize and with your team and do certain things. And this is when mostly Call of Duty was only like just kill all and just take names later sort of thing. And that is more, in my opinion, more brainless. But with the Battlefield series, it was a lot more to it, and that's what I really, really enjoyed. And the single player campaign I love too. I love the story with Bad Company and Bad Company 2. And it kind of sucks that they left off Bad Company 2 on a cliffhanger, never to be resolved. I probably spent a good solid year on the multiplayer with Bad Company 2, just endless nights, and I have to put it on this list. Now here's another one that's probably going to surprise a lot of you on this list, and that's San Andreas. on the PS2. I briefly played a little bit of Grand Theft Auto when it was overhead on the PS1. It really wasn't my thing. I didn't like it too much. It was whatever, meh. But there was something about San Andreas. I didn't even play Vice City and all those other ones that came before, but San Andreas, when it came out, it was super hyped. And I remember being in GameStop and seeing Science Sport. Jay was there and he was like, man, I'm gonna get this game. And I'm like, what's the big deal about, Grand Theft Auto? You're stealing cars or whatever. I don't get it. And then I ended up getting the game. I got sucked into the hype and I immediately was absolutely hooked. I liked the atmosphere. I liked everything about the game. It was fun going into different areas and just being in that world. I thought it was really freaking cool. And the storyline was awesome too. And all the various things that you could do in the game. And I remember so long just waiting for the ability to go up and be able to unlock the airport and unlock, Las Vegas, all the areas were based around actual cities, I guess, like all the other ones though, but these are cities I was interested in, I thought were interesting. LA, Las Vegas, and then the big mountain that you could go up, Mount Chiliad, I believe it. I think it's Mount Chiliad, or is that in the new one? I don't remember. But just going up there and just doing various things, like just being able to jump off the mountain and stuff. I would spend hours just not even doing missions, just exploring this huge map. At that time, I think that this was the biggest map I'd ever seen in a video game. And so it was just super cool to just interact and to see what was all out there. It was like an actual city that you could go through. And that's what was so appealing to me. Not even so much the story and the missions and stuff that was cool, but I would just spend hours on this map just exploring it. It's a game that I could still go back and play, and it's not dated. It's a good time. When you were a kid in the late 80s, early 90s, you had two things on your mind: Nintendo, or just video games in general, and Ninja Turtles. And so when they combined those two, like peanut butter and jelly, it was a match made in heaven, and I could not wait to play anything and all things related to Ninja Turtles. And when I saw on Nintendo Power they were gonna release Ninja Turtles 4 on Super Nintendo, I flipped out. I was like, I cannot wait to play this game. Now keep in mind, I had no idea that this thing was in arcades beforehand, because I was not an arcade guy. The only time, I've said it before, the only time I ever went to really arcades was the Chuck E. Cheese, and I was playing the original TMNT. I had no idea that they had another one, Turtles in Time. And so this was a brand new game to me. Everything about this game is perfect in my opinion. It's one of those games that I've said doesn't even need to be remade. They remade it on the Xbox, updated graphics, and I was like, meh, just give me the original. It's perfect in my opinion. It's got one of the best replay values of all time. I could play it again and again and again and never get sick of it, unless I probably got sick of it, which probably wouldn't happen. There was no way Turtles in Time was not going to be on this list. Next up on the list is a PS2 game, God of War. Now, I kind of debated whether or not I wanted to include God of War 2 on this, or even just replace it with God of War 2. They're both brilliant. But I went with the original. I went with God of War 1, because, that's I didn't want to cheat. This is a game that I had no idea about until I saw it at Jay's. Jay was playing it on his PS2, and so I checked it out as well. And I was hooked right from the beginning. And just the idea of like these enormous giant boss fights that you had to climb up onto different various creatures, and it was just like these epic cinematics. The whole backdrop of Greek mythology. The fun aspect of all the different weapons and slashing maneuvers and attacks that you could do when you could build those things up with all the orbs that came off the enemies. It was just a really cool experience and a fun game. It's not too cerebral or whatever. It's a hack and slash. You're going around just destroying everything in your path, but they make it so fun. Just from everything from the story to the visuals. It's a beautiful game. Just the atmosphere of everything involved in it, and the music is just amazing. The sound, the voice acting from Tilk, it's all just a perfect package. Just to tell you something, usually when I play a game, I'm kind of done with it, but this one I went back and played it again because I wanted to do it on the harder difficulties, and that generally does not happen. I did that both with God of War 1 and God of War 2. I wanted to just get everything, every secret, and I wanted to master the game. And you know, in God of War 2, I'll bring that up too. Like the last battle with Zeus was brutal, but honestly, just the last battle with Ares in God of War 1 on the hardest difficulty was one of the most brutal battles I've ever encountered. In fact, I probably should have put that on the hardest boss list that I've done in the past. But regardless, still love the game. I was not a fan of the idea of video games going into 3D. I saw the images from the N64 games in Nintendo Power, and I was not a fan of that. So I was planning on missing out. I had no interest in getting N64 until Shadows of the Empire came out, and I was like, okay, well, this is finally the Star Wars game I've been waiting for. So I got it in N64. Shadows of the Empire is not on this list. It's a great game. I love it. However, Ocarina of Time is. I may have not been the biggest fan of 2D games going into 3D in that era, but Ocarina of Time, it worked. There's a lot of perfect games on this list, in my opinion. This is another one of those perfect games. Absolutely flawless. You can't find a flaw in Ocarina of Time, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people are going to say that some of the dungeons, like the Water Temple or whatever, are just too damn hard, which I disagree. I didn't even see it being played for the first time until I was over at Jay's, and one of his friends had an N64 there playing, and I was like, okay. And I know Melvor was playing it too, and I was like, I got to get this game. So I ended up getting it for myself, and it was just, I fell in love with it. Like I say that a lot on a lot of these games on here, because that's why they're on this top 10 list. You know, you fall in love with them, and it immediately hooked me, and I couldn't get enough of it. They took something that was traditionally 2D, and they made it into 3D, and they made it work. It could have been bad, but they made it work. The battle system, locking on, it just all works flawlessly. And if that had not worked, then the whole game would have sucked. But luckily they nailed it. And the whole notion of going back and forth through time was an aspect I've never experienced before. So this game was a true adventure in every sense of the word, and it is brilliant. I wasn't an RPG guy, but seeing all the hype for Final Fantasy VII, I knew I had to at least try it out, and I wasn't disappointed. It took me a little bit to get used to the turn-based fighting system. I was not used to that at all. I've never played a game like that employed that sort of battle mechanic. It was all action stuff before that. After about an hour or so, once I got used to the whole chess game aspect of it, I was loving it, because it kind of offered a new strategy that I'd never experienced before. And I think the story is the strongest aspect of Final Fantasy VII. You go into this game knowing so little. It's a mystery. And then once the mystery starts to unravel a bit and a bit and a bit and a bit more, you want to see more of it. You want to discover what's going on. And it just keeps on growing and growing and growing, especially in terms of like locations. I thought the whole game was going to take place in Midgar. And then all of a sudden you go out and you see this vast, huge, ginormous map. That was insane to me. I was blown away by that. I developed a deep appreciation for that game and what games could do in general. And I understood that, hey, there's a whole vast genre of games out there that maybe would appeal to me that I didn't know before. There's not going to be a whole lot of people that deny the fact that Mario 3 is one of the best video games ever made. It may not be on your top 10 list, but my God, it's got to be up there somewhere. It's a perfect game in my opinion. Just like TMNT, it does exactly what it needs to do. You just want to spend 30 minutes beating up people. Mario 3 was that epic adventure we had been waiting for in a Mario game. Mario 1 was awesome. Mario 2 was different, but I still loved it. Mario 3 was a huge adventure. It blew my mind how big this game was when it first came out. I could not believe how epic it seemed. From the hype to actually finally getting to play it and just seeing how big these maps were and how many levels there were and how many areas there were to explore and how many secrets there were. It was one of those games that you kept on finding things again and again and again you never knew existed. They put so much care and love into this game. My favorite game on the NES by far. Next up is the game that absolutely made me go bonkers crazy wanting a Super Nintendo. And that game is Super Mario World. We had seen the hype, we had seen it being called Super Mario Bros. 4, and of course, love Super Mario Bros. 3, right? Gonna get more of the same, but on a 16-bit system, sign me up. Saw the screenshots of this thing in Nintendo Power, could not wait for it to come out, and when it came out, all that hype. Usually when you're that hyped for something, it's just gonna let you down because it can never meet your expectations. But this game met my expectations and exceeded them. It was beyond anything I even had played up in my head. That's how awesome this game was. And I'd seen all the visuals in Nintendo Power. I knew it was ahead, but my God, it was just seeing it on there on the TV with the controllers in your hand and playing it. My God, it just blew me away. And I was not let down. I was not disappointed in the least. It was the true, big, huge, epic adventure for Mario. I mean, this game was huge. It's a classic in every sense of the word. So of course, number one, it's not gonna be a lot of surprised people out there on this one. I've said it many times. That is A Link to the Past. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about this game because I've said it again and again and again. But I was never a huge Zelda guy when the first game came out. But when this one came out and I saw it in Nintendo Power, I knew I had to play it and I immediately fell in love with it. It was gorgeous looking. It was, you know, that first scene when it's raining and you go and you find your uncle, it just hooked you. I really wanted to see what happened with the story. I wanted to see where this was going. And those types of overhead games I really wasn't too used to. I was used to the side-scrolling stuff, but this one changed my mind. It opened up new possibilities and new enjoyment that I never knew I had for that sort of game. So I saved up money from mowing lawns or something. I don't remember what I did, but I ended up getting the money and I bought it. So I had to buy my own copy after reading it, which was very, very unusual. Usually when we rented a game, it was like, okay, this was fun. I had my fill and move on to the next game. This was a rare circumstance where we rented the game and I was like, I've got to have more of this. I've got to own it. And so I owned it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, visit Dollar Shave Club down in the description below. If you do decide to sign up and use that link, it does help the channel because they will sponsor more videos and it helps out with the apocalypse stuff. So thank you so very much. And I want to hear what your favorite games of all time are below. I mean, if you think my list sucks, I want to hear that too. So thank you for watching.